Hi everyone, welcome back to Outdoor Adventurecraft. A few weeks ago I shot a video entitled Survival Situation, Fishing Trip Gone Wrong. Today I want to shoot a little bit and talk about the things that I think I needed to improve on, on that evening's events. Also I want to talk about a few of the things that I thought went really well, that I was proud of. I also wanted to point out, guys, I'm shooting in blistering 1080p now. Hopefully the investment was worth it. Hopefully you guys can notice the quality improvement. I got a Nikon D5200. It's got really nice low light sensitivity and stuff like that, and it's really going to help the quality of my videos here in the woods. So I've also made a new little intro bumper cutscene that you guys saw in the last one. So let's get into that and get the video started. Hi everyone, I hope you liked the little intro bumper there. I kind of like it. I'll probably change it off and on as the series progresses. I hope you guys don't mind if I refer to my notes a little bit, but I wanted to cover, as I mentioned, a few points from my Survival Situation Fishing Trip Gone Wrong video that I thought I needed to improve on, and I also wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things I think I did pretty well. Now I suggest if you haven't seen it, you go and watch that. I'll put a link to it in the description, but I'll also put a card up here in the corner, and it's called Survival Situation Fishing Trip Gone Wrong. So let's get into it. Now, one of the things I wanted to improve on, right around the 8-minute mark, there was some trail sign that I wanted to point out to you guys, and I misidentified it as deer scat. It was actually moose droppings. Now I had been familiar with those droppings, seeing them off and on over the years, but I've only been hunting for a couple of years, so that was actually a misidentification. And that actually gave me an idea for an upcoming video, which is going to be looking at identifying sign and tracks and stuff like that. So I think that'll be beneficial both for me, needing to know more and expanding my skills and knowledge, but also for you guys at home. The other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was my choice of site and my shelter design setup. Basically, the biggest thing that I did wrong there was I didn't calculate for the change in weather. And what I mean by that is that I knew it was potential for rain, and so that was kind of my predominant thinking when I set up the shelter. I set it up just to shed rain. What I should have calculated was the wind. The wind's going to be the biggest factor in lowering your body temperature and thus endangering you for hypothermia and things like that. When you check the forecast, you can find out the possibility of precipitation, and I had a good idea of the chance of rain, but what I didn't check was the wind direction and wind speed. When I set the shelter up, it was actually very little wind at all, so I couldn't quite get a read on it on a traditional method, just picking up a little grass and sprinkling it. But what I should have done was check the forecast and seen the prevailing wind direction. Normally it'll tell you if it's a northeastern wind or a southern wind. It'll tell you the general direction. And maybe I could have done something like set up a little bit of smoke, burned a little piece of paper, or started my fire before I set up my shelter to get an idea which way even the slightest wind was pushing. Because had I set the shelter up with the back into the wind, the situation would have likely been very different. And that leads me to the design concept of the shelter that I built. I built it just to shed rain, and I needed a little space. I figured I'd give myself a bit of comfort. So you see in the shelter the back end was up off the ground a bit, and that allowed the wind, when it did come, to blow straight through the shelter. There was no barrier, and it was just blowing straight across me underneath the shelter, just like a straight pass through. So that cooled me off quite a bit too. I think had those two things been done better on the shelter, that being checking the wind direction by the forecast and better in-field weather prediction, or at least trying to establish the predominant wind direction, and the shelter design, bringing that back down, would have made a big difference in my comfort on that evening. The other thing I wanted to mention, right around the 25-minute mark, I'll have a little clip up here, there was my firewood preparation. Now, in a situation like that night, I had lots of firewood around, and it was easy to get a hold of, but it would have been advantageous to have prepared more firewood. Then I wouldn't have had to, break it up in the night, and I might have been able to get a little bit more rest. It's not that I couldn't do it, but it might have made the night easier on me. And the other thing was the choice of fire style. Now, I made a little pit fire, and it was probably only about 8 or 10 inches wide. Had I made a long fire, even with the predicted weather forecast of 14 degrees, had I made a long fire across in front of that shelter, it would have kept my whole body warm, not just where it was placed at the foot area. Later in the night when I got up, I was able to sit near it, but had I made a long fire, it would have been a lot more efficient. So now let's talk about a couple of the things I got right, some of the things that I was proud of. As you see in the video here, I picked a wide variety of tinder. I had a couple different tinder options, but I also had a wide assortment of kindling sizes, from very thin wire or pencil lead sizes all the way up through to things the size of your thumb. And when I put the fire together, I was able to add those small bits of kindling in stages and keep it very well ventilated, lots of oxygen, and start fires very easily. And also, because I prepared so much kindling and tinder, I was able to start multiple fires throughout the night with what I had prepared ahead. Obviously, going to collect a little fuel isn't going to be as much work as all that processing of small twigs and branches and things like that. So I was happy with my my fire performance that night. The second thing that I thought I did quite well on that survival situation, fishing trip gone wrong video, was critical thinking. At that point, around 2:30 in the morning, when I had to make a decision about what I was going to do when I was starting to get cold and wasn't able to sleep, I basically had two things I could do. I could try to make it work, or bug out for the semi-permanent shelter where I had a sleeping bag and a mat and all that and stay warm. So what I did was I made the decision to dismantle the shelter as I had built it, and it being ineffectual, I was able to take that shelter and use it as an emergency blanket, which was a windbreak and also a moisture barrier. In addition to starting the fire, I was actually able to get quite comfortable again and make it through the night, and I actually even got a little bit of sleep. So again, that was critical thinking. I was able to make a decision that made things work, and I didn't have to bug out and go back to my my backup plan. So I was quite happy with that. And that leads me into my third proud accomplishment of that evening, and that was having a solid backup plan. If you guys are going to go out and learn this way and teach yourselves, you need to have a good fallback position. What I did that evening was try to go out with minimal equipment, just what I had on my belt and in my pockets. But I had a fallback position. I had a much better shelter, 4 walls, sleeping mat, sleeping bag, bivvy. I would have been able to be very comfortable, and had I gotten into a situation where I needed to go, it was less than 1 kilometer away on a trail. So those are the kinds of things that you need to think of when you're going out to practice these kinds of skills. And those are a couple of the things that I was quite proud of in my survival situation video. So that's just about going to wrap it up here, guys. I was glad to come out and have this opportunity to do a little self-review of that previous video. I think it's important to stay humble about your knowledge, your skills. When you see ways to improve, do so. And I wanted to share that with you guys. You know, there was some things I definitely could have done better, and I learned from it. But I also had a safety plan. So I wanted to pass that on. And that video also gave me some ideas for upcoming videos. One of the things, obviously, you get stranded or lost, the best idea is not to get stranded or lost. And we all take measures to prevent that. And one of the things I wanted to cover in an upcoming video was basic compass use. You know, I took a reading before I went in that night. Even though I knew the area, I knew which direction of travel I was going, and I knew which direction of travel to head back to the car. So a basic compass use video is a good idea that came out of that one. Also, as mentioned, one of my work on points, game sign. You know, seeing poop here, there, and everywhere, getting an idea what you think it is, what somebody always told you it was, it's not the same thing as actually knowing what it was. And in the situation of that video, camping near a moose trail and camping near a deer trail, two very big things. A moose is probably one of the most dangerous animals in our woods. So even though I was camped a ways back from it, better sign identification. That's going to be a great idea for an upcoming video. As well, that point that I talked about in weather prediction. A barometer is a good tool. I have a barometer with me. It tells me about changing weather patterns. But educating yourself before you get into a situation, like if you're going out fishing or hunting, or you're heading out to your cabin, knowing the prevailing wind directions, the chance of precipitation, things like this, knowing how to read a barometer, I think that's a good idea for an upcoming video. Well, just before I get going, I wanted to thank everyone for all your support. It's been inspiring to see all the comments here on YouTube, as well as in Facebook and Instagram. Part of the fun of having started this YouTube channel has been diving into the community, getting to know individuals, both in Facebook on some of the great groups there, and also here in YouTube, some of the other YouTubers, and commenting back and forth and watching each other's videos. It's been a lot of fun, and it's been part of starting the channel for me. It's been part of the experience. So I wanted to thank you guys again from the bottom of my heart for all the support. And just having hit 500 subscribers, I want to give back. So we're going to do a 500 subscriber giveaway on the next video. Not sure what it's going to be yet. I'm thinking where we looked at a knife last time, I'm thinking about some type of shelter implement, something to get you guys through in a bad situation, something to keep in your glove box or in your pack or what have you. So look forward to that on the next video, the 500 subscriber giveaway. And again, guys, subscribe here if you haven't already. Thumbs up if you can. That helps spread the message from Outdoor Adventurecraft around Facebook, and other people can find us and watch along with us. As well as comment down here so I can get in touch with you. Tell me what you think of the video, this video, or other videos. And as always, guys, thanks for joining me here on Outdoor Adventurecraft. See you next time.